How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Ron Logan, and today we got to talk about former Trump aide Sam Nunberg. Now, you may have seen him on the news yesterday. He was all over the place. He was on MSNBC. I think he was on CNN. He's doing a whole lot. He's really lobbing some accusations or soft accusations about Trump, maybe being involved with Russia, maybe not. It's a whole lot going on. But before we get into the video I have from MSNBC, in which they pretty much chronicle all of what he's been doing over the past couple of days, I just want to tell you a little bit more about him. Now, he's 36 years old. He worked for the ACLJ. That's the American Center for Law and Justice, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But it's a conservative Christian organization, allegedly. Now, he's a conservative. He was a Trump aide. He worked for him in 2014. In 2014, he convinced Trump to be part of a BuzzFeed article, and the BuzzFeed article wound up being very scathing. It was something along the lines of 36 hours on the fake campaign trail, because at that point in 2014, I suppose nobody thought Trump was really serious. He wasn't really going to run, or whatever the case may be. Trump came out and said later that Nunberg agreed that Trump could fire him if the article wound up not being flattering, which is what happened. He got hired again in 2015 to be part of Trump's campaign team, but he got fired in August of 2015 because of some racially charged posts on Facebook that were revealed from like 2007. Among other things, they said he was a drunk, maybe a drug addict. I'm not really sure about the drug addict part, but you'll see why I said that in a little bit as soon as we get to the clip. So this guy has not been affiliated with Trump in the White House specifically since August 2015. It is now March 2018. We're talking about almost 3 years later. Some people say, you know, Trump aide or former Trump aide. We got to really put it in proper context to see how long ago it was. He was also somebody that wrote for Breitbart, was friends with Roger Stone. So there's a little bit of issues right there because of Roger Stone not being in the White House anymore. But before I go any further, let's get to this video where they really break it down, where you see him act kind of, in my opinion, erratically. I'm not really sure why he's behaving this way, but after we get done watching this clip, I'm going to come back, break it on down, and put a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
I want to walk through exactly how we got here. It started yesterday afternoon around 2:30 when Nunberg told the Washington Post he was refusing to appear before a grand jury despite a subpoena from Robert Mueller. Just 15 minutes later, he called in to MSNBC to speak to Katie Tur and explain exactly why.
What they sent me was absolutely ridiculous. They wanted every email I had with Roger Stone and with Steve Bannon. What does Bob Mueller need to see my emails when I send Roger and Steve clips and we talk about how much we hate people?
Sam, he doesn't have to tell you why. He just has to say, do it. He also called the whole investigation a witch hunt. But then he seemed to contradict himself by saying he thinks Mueller might have the goods on the president.
Do you think that they have something on the president?
I think they may.
What?
I think that he may have done something during the election, but I don't know that.
I think they may. That doesn't sound like a witch hunt. Shortly after 3 p.m., White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, well, she fired back with this.
As we've said many times before, there was no collusion with the Trump campaign. Anything further on what his actions are, he hasn't worked at the White House, so I certainly can't speak to him or the lack of knowledge that he clearly has.
But he did work with the campaign, as did Paul Manafort, Rick Gates, Carter Page. She said no collusion. No, she never mentioned money laundering. But Nunberg, he wasn't done. By 4 p.m., he was on CNN, doubling down on his defiance of Bob Mueller's subpoena.
I'm not cooperating, arrest me.
You're not cooperating, arrest you.
Yes, I'm not cooperating. You're more than happy. You want to arrest me, arrest me.
Oof, throughout the day, Nunberg never stopped making news. He alleged that Carter Page was in fact colluding with the Russians. He said Bob Mueller was trying to build a case that Trump is indeed a puppet of Moscow, and he launched personal attacks against Sarah Huckabee Sanders. By the evening, there were questions about why Nunberg opted for such a public display.
Talking to you, yeah. I have smelled alcohol on your breath.
Well, I have not had a drink.
You haven't had a drink, so that's not...
No.
This is for real. Throughout the day, Nunberg repeatedly shrugged off the possibility of being held in contempt and facing jail time. Listen to what he told Ari Melber.
You keep saying you don't think there'll be a consequence. What if the consequence for that is going to jail, Sam?
They're not going to send me to jail. You know what, Mr. Mueller, if he wants to send me to jail, he can send me to jail, and then I'll laugh about it, and I'll make a bigger spectacle than I am on your TV show right now. I would have no problem going to the grand jury. But I, once again, don't want to have to spend 80 hours going over email.
You'd rather spend possibly a year in jail than 80 hours going through
I'm not going to jail. You think I'm going to jail?
I don't know. I've never been to jail, but I'm pretty sure if I did, I wouldn't be laughing. But by the end of the day, reality seemed to set in for Mr. Nunberg. Late yesterday, he finally reversed course, telling my colleague Katie Tur that he would, in fact, cooperate with Robert Mueller's team.
All right, so you see that. So you see what's going on. Now, Aaron Burnett from CNN called him out. He was like, you know what, man, I smell the alcohol in your breath. So what's going on? They say, and when I say they, I mean some of those that may have been in the White House. I think Hope Hicks. I don't know if Hope Hicks said that he was alcoholic or drunk or what have you, but she did say that he was leaving all kind of crazy calls to the White House trying to beg for his job back after he got fired. He was still calling like a year and a half later. That right there is the kind of thing that alcoholics do. They kind of ruminate, live in the past. I know what alcoholics do. I've dealt with them before. So it wouldn't surprise me if what she said about him is true and that it may fit into the whole alcoholic thing. Now, my question would be, why would Aaron Burnett just lie like that? Now, I know CNN, they've done some dastardly things. They are pretty much fake news, but, you know, she's not going to say to the man, to his face, I smell alcohol on you. And then his reaction was just kind of like, well, I haven't had a drink today. What do you really mean? And he may have been telling the truth. Let's put it in context. The interview could have been 8 o'clock in the morning. So maybe at that particular point in the day, he hadn't had a drink, but maybe the night before, he may have only been asleep for like 3 to 4 hours. He may have been in the hotel room drinking all night. He gets up in the morning and goes to do the interview. He doesn't look too bad, but you know how some alcoholics are functional. Maybe that's him, completely filled with alcohol to the point where you could smell it on him. Maybe not from his breath, but from his pores. But he's still able to go out there and be somewhat functional. However, maybe he was not that functional. He does not look like the type person that is slurring his words, can't barely walk or whatever. But his actions that day, I mean, you're being subpoenaed by Bob Mueller and you're refusing to go. You're going on talking crazy. And this guy's a lawyer. So you know, as a lawyer, what you can say and what you cannot say. So for him to be so irresponsible like that on television, talking about the case, talking about what he is going to do, what he ain't going to do. I ain't going to jail. They're not going to send me to jail. That right there is not rational behavior, especially as a lawyer. Even the regular normie wouldn't do something like that when you got the specter of jail on top of your back. So I think the whole thing about alcohol may be true. And then he admitted to being on antidepressants. So you mix some alcohol with drugs. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. Maybe that's why he got fired. Maybe that's why he's leaving all these crazy voicemails years later. Maybe that's why he's going on television talking reckless about his case when the case is going on. It doesn't make any sense what he's doing. If it was a person, if I was him and I really didn't want to cooperate, you wouldn't see me on television. Why am I on TV? Like, if I don't want to cooperate with the grand jury, then why am I on TV? I'm basically doing the exact same thing. I'm talking about the case that is going to be used against me. All they're going to do is play a tape in the courtroom and talk about your character. At the end of the day, as I close, I think that this guy is a nut, and that's probably why he got fired twice. You know, I think Trump really is a good guy, and he tries to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you had a bad experience with him one time, but you want to say, okay, give him another chance, put him back in there. But sometimes it doesn't really go right. And, you know, as much as he is a giving person, he's also unforgiving. He'll give you a second shot, but if you ruin it, he will not be hesitant to fire you. I think in the Obama administration, people that got hired didn't really get fired too much or fired publicly with any kind of drama because they didn't do anything. But when you have a job that must get accomplished and you're going to be held accountable, then you may see a lot of turnover. With no accountability, who cares what you do? All you got to do really is sit in your room, collect money, and let the shadow government handle everything. You get something on your desk. All you're told to do is sign it. You're not told to come up with any kind of new ideas, nothing. Just sign a sheet of the paper and move on with your life. Don't worry about trying to do any kind of governance. We'll take care of that. And when I say me, I mean those that are behind the scenes, those that are the puppet masters. Trump wants to not be controlled by a puppet. And that was funny how this guy's talking about he's a puppet of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. My thing is, what has he actually done to help the Russians? Didn't he impose sanctions on Russia, if I'm not mistaken? What has he actually done that's going to help Russia? It doesn't make any sense. I think that this guy is just jaded. It's like a jilted ex-lover. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Throughout the day, he was talking about how he's not going to cooperate. Then at the end of that clip where you saw the person on the MSNBC said that now he's reversed course. So he will be cooperating. Hopefully, well, I think he won't do any more of these theatrics because maybe he came down from his pills and his alcohol. Allegedly. He realized, hey, I done something wrong here. It's like you go on the 3-day crack binge and then you wake up and you're like, where am I at? How did I get here? What did I do? I think that's what happened to this man, Sam Nunberg, right now. So what do you think? Do you think that Sam Nunberg was drunk, high, or whatever during this period of time he was going on television talking real reckless about his case? This guy is a lawyer, had a position in a nonprofit, the ACLJ. He's not just some random person on the street. This guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. But when you're under the influence of alcohol and drugs, that may change a normally rational person into an irrational person. Then more of an undercurrent of being upset at Trump, being sued by Trump, suing Trump, all that kind of stuff like that. You're going to say things out of anger. It's like a drunk mind reveals a true heart. That's what I think we saw during this period of a couple of days. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.